Moving on next, we have today with us Mr. Balsara, Chairman of Madison World, boasts over 50 years of experience in marketing and advertising, leading India's largest independent communication group for the past 36 years. Thank you, sir, for coming over here. I'd like to have your beautiful words, please. Do you need this, sir?
No, I'm fine. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I'll do this. Please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Dignitaries on the stage, our honorable ministers, thank you very much for all the load that you carry and bringing India and all of us to the stage that we are in. I know you do a thankless job, but somebody has to do it, and you're doing it very well. So, nice to be in Bubneshwar. I recalled only this morning that I was last year in 1974 when I was in my first job, and I used to do market visits for 1 week every month. So Monica has given me 8 minutes to talk, and I'm no expert on sustainability. I'll leave that to my more learned friends like Avinash and Ramesh, who are the advertising industry's sustainability experts. So I thought I would speak to you about what I am seeing around me in our country, and especially in the last 10 years. What I'm seeing are some dramatic changes, and why I'm recalling them is because I believe there are tremendous implications on marketing and advertising people who have to recognize these dramatic changes that have already taken place in India. So the first change that I see, and I must confess that McKinsey had predicted this many, many years ago, is that the structure of our economy is going to change. Is the largest set of population, the poorest, and right at the bottom. In fact, the population right at the bottom earning the least has now shrunk, and the largest is now somewhere in the middle. That's why we say we are moving from a pyramid to a diamond shape, which has tremendous implications on marketing and how we take advantage of this movement. The second thing that I observe, especially amongst young people, is that they have tremendous confidence in tomorrow, confidence in their earning capacity, confidence in the fact that they can chuck up their job, go on a 3-month holiday, they have worked too hard, and are supremely confident that they will get another job, possibly at a much higher salary. And I see that as a dramatic change from before, and again this reflects in their spending pattern. You know, India was a country with those who had the capability to earn saved a lot of money. Today, we are slowly changing. We are almost becoming a consumption society, and young people are spending almost as much as they earn, if not more, by borrowing money through their credit card. We now have more young people in our country, and as I alluded to earlier, our middle class, the middle of the socio-economic group, is bulging. And they say that any country progresses a lot or is ready for takeoff when the middle class bulges. I believe this is what happened in China when their middle class and their working population increase, then the GDP shoots up. So we are at that stage today. We've also seen, all of us have seen, at least I have seen in Bombay, we have fast growing hard infrastructure. Our airports now are probably among the best in the world. We have good roads, our highways are terrific. In Bombay, we now have a coastal road which is unbelievable. There is so much of infrastructure coming up in smaller towns. You have now good hotels everywhere. So I think all this augurs very well for business because connectivity is good, ease of travel is good. So many new airports have come up which makes reaching out to smaller places far more easier. All of it auguring very well for industry. But possibly the biggest and the most dramatic change is in the digital infrastructure that we have set up that I believe is again comparable not just to the best, but probably better than the best. It is inconceivable of the number of smartphones population in country. It is inconceivable. It was inconceivable, I think, even 10 years ago, that of all the digital transactions that take place in the world, India would have the largest share. It was inconceivable that you can pay a vegetable vendor or a coconut seller on the roadside through a Paytm. All this, I think, has brought about tremendous changes in habits of people, not just young people, but even older people. And I think it has tremendous implications on marketing. I think one very clear implication is the impact that, e-commerce and D2C brands now have on our old economy. When I was growing up in marketing, companies like Unilever and Tata's and the lot, their key strength, which was impenetrable by any young company, was distribution. Today, suddenly, that advantage has gone away. With the advent of e-commerce, with the advent of D2C, last week we had an e-commerce conference by one of our digital agencies, Hive Minds, and I was surprised to see the number of young people in that room who, at the age of 30, were running companies with a turnover of 500 crores. We have a young IIT engineer who started a brand called Atombug. I think hardly 6-7 years ago. He had the gumption to come up with an electric fan, taking on 50 and 75-year-old companies like Crompton and Usha and the lot. And e-commerce enabled him to reach out to the whole country. Distribution was no longer a barrier. And today, within just 6 years, every legacy company has adopted his technology and competing with him. Today, he has moved on from e-commerce to hard stores where his fans sell. He's now moved on from just digital advertising to television advertising to sponsorship of cricket. And all this has happened in 6 to 7 years. And this is a 30-year-old IIT engineer taking on companies like Crompton and Usha, which are 50 and 70-year-old companies. So you cannot take today, your yesterday's strengths for granted. Volatility is indeed very, very high. Did you know, for example, that, we all know that Google and Facebook are real big behemoths, and not just globally, but now even in India. They are, in fact, India's two largest media companies are not Times of India. It is not Star Network. It is not Z Network, but it is Google and Facebook. But did you know something else that came as a shock to me about 5 years ago? That Google and Facebook do not get the majority of its earnings or revenue from Madison or Group M or Hindustan Lever or Procter and Gamble, but they get it from actually lakhs and lakhs of small shopkeepers, bakeries, beauty salons, and the like. And that is, I think, a dramatic change that has happened in India. Business is now no longer the exclusive preserve of the big boys. It is these young people, housewives, who are making huge successes operating from homes, using the power of their minds, initiative, and some entrepreneurship. Dramatic changes for big businesses to recognize. And Avinash, to your point, I think that will make sure that your business is sustainable. So don't worry about sustainability. I am very, very confident that all of us are in a fantastic place, especially media is in a fantastic place. Advertising till is only 0.3% of our GDP, and our population is growing, our GDP is growing, and this percentage is going to grow up. There's also growing intellectual power in our country. Last 2 days, I was in Udaipur at a Google conference. And Google, in their usual way, actually blew our minds with what technology is doing, not for business, but in the field of education, in the field of health and whatnot, just for the good of humanity. And I asked them a question that, look, is all this happening, on the west coast of US? They said, no, we have 3,000 Indian engineers in India, and they are working on all this. So all the power of Google is actually, first we thought it is coming from Indians working in Mountain View. But no, now we have moved. It is Indians working in India who are driving Google now. So our intellectual power is actually par none. One of the unique things that's happening in India, unfortunately, and I'm sure our politicians will take care of this over the next 5 years, is that I believe our growth is K-shaped. That means that, the rich are getting richer, but it does open up tremendous markets and opportunities for people like us and people in media. For example, I am told that there are takers for Birkin bags today, but you can't buy them unless you have run up a high bill with Hermes. Or that you can't buy a Rolex watch in India, you have to be in queue. You can't get a reservation at an elegant restaurant in Bombay if you have not booked it at least 24 hours in advance. All this is happening right now. Last month I was in Delhi often and I had to take a flight at short notice. It costed me 20 to 30,000 rupees each time, an economy seat in a low-cost airline. So some amazing things are happening right under our nose. Separately, whilst it's true that we are a poor country, I think the poor people are also having aspirations, and that is opening up another market. Recently, I saw that a large FMCG manufacturer has come up with a body wash, but he's used his ingenuity to not provide it in a ready-to-use bottle, but you have to mix powder and water and make it, which brings the cost down to possibly 1/5. Because those poorer people also, because of all the information flow, have developed aspiration. And I think the first stage of growth is to first have the aspiration to grow. There are, of course, dramatic media changes also taking place. But I think unlike in the West, we are not throwing out the baby with the bath water. As I've said before, India is now the print capital of the world. No other country in the world has a market share of 20%. Print does. Globally, the market share of print is only some 3 or 4%. In China, it is 0. Yet in India, it is still 20%. So, Avinash, to your point, television is still more than 30% of Indian market. A lot of legacy advertisers believe that you can't beat television when it comes to brand building. This is in face of the fact that YouTube, of course, is gaining rapid ground. So, one another development, and I can't say I fully subscribe to it, is that new business models seem to be emerging which could threaten old legacy businesses. I met 2 jewelers today earlier in the day. Imagine if a young jewelry company comes up, funded by some venture fund, and his objective is only top line sales. His objective is not profit. For 50 years, I'm told the business of business is business, and that means to grow your profit. Now, suddenly we are faced with a new paradigm where hundreds of businesses are not focused on profit but only on top line. So how do legacy businesses fight in the market with somebody who doesn't have to worry about profit but only top line? I think it is dramatically changing, or it will even more further dramatically change who media has to go after. And my final point is that, as we all know, all eyes are now on India. A Prime Minister in the last decade has done a fantastic job of making India the flavor of the decade. I would say that's good and bad. Good, of course, we all know why it's very good. But it's also a little concerning, I think, to business people. Why? Because everybody and his uncle wants to be in India. He wants to bring his brand to India. What does that mean? More competition. And all those others who are coming into India are coming with deep pockets. Their objective is to establish themselves in India, and they've given themselves 3 to 5 years. So they'll create havoc in the market in those 3 to 5 years. We have to learn how to fight them and survive them. And I think, given the theme of this conference, I would say that yes, I think there are an increasing number of young people we see who want to consciously support brands that display more than just a profit objective, that display some consciousness for the earth. That's why they're willing to spend on brands that are more organic, that use more sustainable packaging, that have a larger purpose in life, that support a good cause, and all of that is something for all businesses to think about, because maybe that is the route to increased profitability. Thank you very much, Monica, for inviting me.